Good morning, MMTs. It's 8:58 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's our favorite day of the week. It's Sunday. Today's date is 3/27 of 2011, and it's always a special day on Sundays around here. I'm going to go ahead and populate your historical data in your MMT platform down here. As you can see, I'm going to pull up the hood a little bit more here, and this is a daily chart. And a half delta on the daily is 18.48 handles on the S&P 500. That means that each one of these trend lines are exactly that. So, because it's a market maker platform, it does all the work for you. What we're going to analyze here, this is the Nasdaq daily chart. And the Nasdaq, when we were talking about back in February on the homepage of the website that we were going to have a correction, and that we were just too overbought, and what that would look like. This heavily weighted technology in here, in this NASDAQ comp daily, is that it led the markets down before the S&P, and it was the contributing major reversal factor that we talked about when we got all the way down here to the bottom where markets got made. And we've come all the way back up here to this half bar. This is going to be a crucial half bar right here on a daily, and that's 27.59. And the NASDAQ comp closes at 27.43. You just need to know that that next delta line up also equals half of that major reversal bar that happened. And that happened on 3/7 of 2011 MMTs. Right over here, down here. So basically, let me go ahead and pull this up a little bit. There we go. Now we're going to take a look at this particular bar where it failed this half bar in this major delta top reversal. How did we always start? Just like we said, counter trend, big reversal bar, gap. This is where all the price action volatility through this time frame was the most heaviest during the reversal of the Nasdaq comp MMTs, because it was, and they were great trading ranges and the trade management setups. Then we gapped down, and we finally gapped down. So gap down weakness, but then we've levered back up here. So here is the bear reversal and the bull reversal in the s&amp platform. How nice it is, because it's not deceptive. Now, one of the things that I'm going to blow up right here is where the top was, and one of the problem with the move is this was the topping pattern from the gap down. Now, what we have to see in this particular scenario over here is we have to start seeing, if we're going to break higher, we have to start seeing this amount of price action green bars, just like you see the red ones here. See these? See these two right here? See this third one here? Okay. We need to have, to validate the strength of this trend on the NASDAQ comp MMTs, is that we have to have the equal buy side daily price action bars positive, just as we did in the negative phase, negative ratios in your platform. We need the positive ratios to start, and we always like to see them that they get back up here to the top. But one of the things about this and the NASDAQ comp, and even though that we're going into a major earnings, and not only that, MMTs, today is the 27th, Monday's the 28th, and it's the first 3 quarters of 2011 trade management on the NASDAQ comp. It's our first 90-day period, which equals 60 trading days, 20, 40, 60, 3 months. So basically, what we are doing now is we're going to get back up, and we're going to get very sophisticated in our yearly NASDAQ formulas, just like we have them here in the daily. However, if we're going to break this bar right here, is going to be a key catalyst bar. We're going to have daily consolidation positive bars up in here, just as we did before we broke down into the bear raid. We were putting in a bear top here. We could never get above that delta line from that gap down. And you can see the amount of daily red bar distribution and price action. You can see the length, the depth per se, the negative ratio, negative ratio, negative ratio, negative ratio versus lighter volume positive ratio. Okay, so what I'm going to be telling you, MMTs, is that we have to have the equal amount of movement in a consolidation positively ratios versus negatively ratios. That's the weakness where you make money on the short side. And all MMTs have been learning that in the MMT and their apprenticeship. This is the way that it is. Now, if the Nasdaq component leaderships like Google, Apple, Amazon, and the rest of them, they are going to be strong because they're going to pull back to support and they're going to bounce. And this is going to be a support level for you right here at 27.21.91. Okay. And remember, on a daily for Monday, is that if we come back down, we would have to see a sharp reversal. And they've got to be green bars like this. Okay. You see that green bar right here? This has to happen up here at any retest. If it does, that means that the leadership names are going to burn off of that bottom, and it also will confirm that that end of the quarter money flow cycle is wanting to own equities, and that we're going into a major earnings, and we're in the springtime now. We're in the mustard seed. We're in the very first phases of it. The trade management on an intraday level is that if I was to gap down here and I start to break below half of that bar, then that means that intraday in your market maker platform on the names that you cover are going to be slide the bid. That means they're going to put in the intraday high and they're going to slide the bid. And that means that that short tape comes into play, and that means that those short s&amp market maker debits go into your assigned market maker count. Period. Because that's what would happen. That's that side of that trade management, MMTs. But if I'm building up here and I can take out this bar up here, that's 27.59. Notice that the Nasdaq comp closed right here at 27.43. Not quite a full delta above it, but we can always go in here very quickly and take a look at what the pricing is. So a half delta up is 27.54. Look at that. A full delta, here's your numbers, 27.65 up. So that's for Monday. And basically, if I'm consolidating at the highs up in here with positive green bars on dips, just like they did in the bear raid over here, and you could never get above that. And then bam, that's where that daily reversal finally exasperated itself. And then we've had a bull raid come into play versus that bear raid and bull raid. Bear raid down, bull raid re-leveraging up. However, MMTs, as you're very well aware, we will have to make sure that we build in here and that we consolidate in this half bar. MMTs is 27.52. That's your last positive ratio bar. Nonetheless, if we're going to have a break above this challenge right up here in our deltas at 2,800 or slightly below that, is that we're going to have some pretty big up bars. It's going to confirm big money coming in at the end of the 60-day period. That's where people start looking at putting money to work. They can't just keep money on the sideline. They don't get paid to do that. Doesn't matter if they're right or wrong, but the thing about it is it's going to confirm it. The end of the first quarter of 2011 buying is going to come in. Then we're going to hold up here. If there's selling coming in, well, then we're going to come in. But let us not forget, we got major economic data coming out this week that can play a role. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter about the headlines. It doesn't matter about it. Jobs report's going to come out in April. Again, we're looking for an increase in those jobs. However, having said all of that, if we don't get this consolidation in positive ratios over here moving forward next week, then this whole move is just some buyers coming in, and then it will fail, is what I'm telling you, MMT. Should that be the case in that scenario, MMT. So we got a long side scenario, we got a short side scenario. This bar right here is 2780 on the S&P, and that was on 2/22 of 2011. That's that first beginning move, and the Nasdaq comp went lower before the S&P 500 and the S&P 100. It was the leader on the way down, and the semiconductors and heavily weighted internet stocks and lots of the contributing factors, and some of them were seasonality. However, the buy has got to be the same way. So if we can do that, then the equities in the Nasdaq are going to bounce the leadership, and they're going to make higher highs. However, this is my key bar right here, and this is going to be 2721.91. If I close below it and it comes up and it becomes resistance, then that means I'm a short seller on the intraday market maker highs, because that's the side of the tape that's going to be printing. And that means that the long side of the tape, which is buying, which you can do, you make markets off bottoms every day, doesn't matter. What does matter is that when you do make the market in a name off of the bottom, you'll be looking at selling 3 teenies up, because there won't be a lot of strength as there was coming over here when we gapped up and we held this, and we held this half bar right here, which was a crucial bar. That really was nice right here, that 2652 half bar. This wick came down and bam, they came in. But still, we must have the big volume positive ratio, just as we had negative ratio. Because you just can't have negative price action ratio here. You go somewhere over here, starting this Monday morning, tomorrow morning, we're going to have to see that, MMTs. And another thing I will show you is, I'm going to get into the next video, and this is called the VXN. It's the fear indicator for the Nasdaq comp and the Nasdaq 100. And when this was breaking out, boom, look at that. We put in the high at 32. We reversed back down here. And we'll talk about this in the next video. But if we set this up here and we start to go higher, then this is automatically coming down. MMTs. This is the key factor, and I'm going to be applying the other back half of this index, is the correlation between less fear here on when it reversed. That's how we put that bottom in. And now that we're back down here, if we gap down here, then that means we're going to gap up. But nonetheless, I'm going to get back to one thing. MMT got to have these positive bars on the daily. And they got to happen up toward the high of where the reversals are right here. This was that delta resistance, and we traded everything short down because we're the one that said it was going to happen. Remember, before it happened, and why. So, hey, what can I say? And we knew that this was going to break higher because we did that, and it's all under our index analysis on stockmarketfunding.com. You find it right there, how accurate we are, and how accurate this is, and how accurate this is. Nonetheless, I'm going to conclude the Nasdaq, because I've already told you in the other videos that the same rule will apply here as it is everywhere. We'd like to see them heavy names do something, okay? And those are the stocks like the Google, the Apple's already performed, Oracle performed. There are leaderships that need to perform and help this Nasdaq comp out. You got the pro, you got the con, you got the long, you got the short. Let us not forget, though, that if we reverse here, that means that the put options are buyable for the gain, and that the call options, you can always buy at a wholesale market, but you're not going to get that much back to the upside on an intraday level only.